Hi everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a polymer clay donut. Everything you'll need for this donut involves some clay. I'm using the brand called Sculpey and I'm using beige, but I'm also going to use white, blue, yellow, green, orange, red, and pink for the sprinkles. And you'll need some chalk pastels for shading to give the donut a little more of a realistic shade. And then you're gonna need some paint brushes, one for the chalk pastels and then one for the glaze. And then I'm also using some Sculpey glaze. And then you'll need some Bacon Bond, or it's known as liquid clay, and I'm using the Sculpey brand as well. And then you'll need a clay cutting tool, a dotting tool, a plate, head pin or eye screw, or an eye pin. I use a head pin because I feel like it's more secure. You'll need some wire tools, you'll need round nose pliers, wire cutters, some paint for the various shades of icing that will go into the Bacon Bond / liquid clay. And then last but not least, you'll need a baking tray and an oven. To start, I'm going to be using this little ball of beige clay, and I actually did make a long chain of clay and I just cut it into pieces to make it even. That way I can make multiple donuts in this one video, and I will be showing you those designs. So right now I'm just rolling it out and then I'm pressing it down a little bit to give it that donut shape, and then I'm rolling it on the sides, and then I'm going to flip it upside down and then press on it again until I get about the right thickness, what I think a donut should look like. Now I'm going to be using my chalk pastels, and I'm going to use that darker brown color as well as the light shade right next to it. That way there can be kind of a contrast on my donut. And now I am shaving down my chalk pastels. That way I can get it into a fine dust and I can spread it and apply it on each donut evenly. But I would definitely recommend wearing gloves during this. I'm not exactly sure why I didn't during the recording of this, but I'm assuming it's because I don't have any right now. But I would definitely add that to your list of things you need. So here I am now with the little paintbrush. I'm going to use this paintbrush to slowly apply a little bit of chalk pastels on each donut. I know it looks a little dark at first, but trust me and trust the process. Now that all your donuts are shaded with that dark pastel, go ahead and take the lighter pastel that we chose earlier and shave that down into a powder just like the other pastel. So go ahead and do that and then apply that to the middle of the top and the bottom of each donut. That way it can give it a nice little contrast. So go ahead and take your polymer clay knife cutting tool. It can be a butter knife if you have that, or anything thin. And go ahead and indent along the side of all the donuts and do it in a circular motion around the donut without like totally cutting through it. But just go ahead and indent around it. That way it can give it that donut look and it looks really cool. And I like how some of the inside is a little visible, so you can kind of see the lighter contrast color. Contrast is my favorite word apparently today. But I think that it just gives it that realistic look of a donut. So go ahead and do that to all of your donuts. Now all those are done. So go ahead and get whatever tool you're gonna need to make the donut into a charm. And I chose a head pin because I think that they're the most sturdy. I would recommend, if you are going to use a head pin, that you have some wire wrapping experience, or at least just watch this tutorial and see if you can do that. But if not, an eye screw is great, and an eye pin is good too. If you're going to use an eye pin though, I recommend putting a little bit of liquid clay on the end of it, but I'm going to be using a head pin. So I'm going to put the head pin through the middle of the donut. I'm taking my dotting tool and I'm just pressing a little bit down on each side of the head pin towards the head pin itself. That way it can be more secure, because as you're doing it, you might make a little bit of a gap or a hole, and you just want to make sure that you close that gap. And then usually once that gap is closed in the bottom, I'll push the head pin through, and then I'll focus on the top part where the loop is gonna go. And I might sometimes even pull that head pin a little bit forward and more in the middle. That way it can be more secure, not right on the outside. But just go ahead and push the clay around it and make sure that it's tight and secure. That way you can have a nice sturdy charm. After you do all of your head pins for your donuts, I'm going to take 9 of my donuts aside and I'm going to start making the donut holes for them. So go ahead and use your dotting tool and make the indent for them, and make sure you flip it around and then kind of swirl it in circular motion. So go ahead and take your liquid clay. It's a very old bottle of liquid clay, but it's just been used a lot. So make 3 different piles of liquid clay. That way you can have 3 separate colors for your icing. Now I'm going to be using these 3 colors of paint from Apple Barrel. They're called Chocolate Bar, Candy Pink, and Snowflake. And I'm going to drop approximately 1 or 2 drops of paint in each pile, and then I'll mix it together to give it some pigment. And to give the chocolate icing a little bit of a deeper color, I am adding 2 different colors of chalk pastels along with a little bit more paint. That way I can make it a little bit more of a chocolatey color and not have it be so dull. Now I'm applying the icing, and at first I was using this dotting tool to apply it, but then I kind of realized that would take me forever, so I decided to use the end of my clay cutting tool to expedite the process. Now I'm doing a Boston cream filled donut. And here I am doing the marble donut. So I'm using 2 of the already white iced donuts, and I'm using some chocolate icing. And then I'm going to make some lines across the donut. And then I'll show you how I drag the end of the clay cutter and I make a little design to give that marble effect. So now I'm going to take some white chalk pastels and I'm going to shave it on top of 3 separate donuts. I'm going to do it top and bottom. And as you can probably guess, these are going to be jelly donuts, powdered jelly donuts. So I'm going to just shave a good amount on each, and then I'm going to flip them over and do the same thing, and then press them down a little bit with that powder. That way it can kind of get embedded into the clay. Okay, so now I'm going to take some of that white icing and I'm going to make the cream for the Boston cream pie. In hindsight, I would have added a little bit of either yellow paint or a tiny bit of yellow chalk pastels to give it more of a custard look, but realistically, I'm okay with how it looks. So I'm applying it right where that head pin is, the other end of it. You don't have to, but I applied it there just to give it a seamless look. So I did all 3 of the Boston cream pie, and now I'm using some purple chalk pastels and some more liquid clay in order to make the jelly for the jelly donut. Now time to transfer the already finished donuts over to my baking tray to get them out of my way. So I'm moving the Boston cream pie, the marble, and the jelly. And now I'm taking tiny little amounts of each of the colors of clay I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to roll them out to very thin snake-like shapes, and then I'm going to cut them up into sprinkles. Now that all of my sprinkles are cut up, I'm going to apply one of each color to each of my donuts, and then that will give them the sprinkles to make them look a little more donutty. But if you don't want to do this step, you can just leave them plain. Now I'm going to bake my clay donuts for about an hour or a little less on 275. Go ahead and bake them according to your clay's instructions. Now my donuts are baked and I let them cool for about an hour. And I'm going to use my round nose pliers and I'm going to go ahead and roll the head pin down in order to make a loop for a charm hanging. And you can use these donuts for bracelets, necklaces, earrings, keychains, whatever your heart desires. So I'm going to go ahead and use those round nose tools and just make sure that I am doing it to where it's not going to leave any of the head pin end sticking out. And I usually use my wire tools also to kind of smash the head pin together, just like you saw, just to make sure it's all secure. Now all of my head pins are all rolled and ready to go, and each donut is ready to make into a charm. I did lose a jelly donut to one of the head pins, so just be very careful with that. I guess I wasn't, and I lost one. So just keep that in mind. But now I'm going to glaze each and every donut, and I'm just going to glaze the top and all around it, and the bottom and the sides, and especially focusing on that head pin area to kind of help seal it in place a little bit and make sure that everything is even more secure. But I really like the way this gives it a nice glossy finish, and I feel like it looks more realistic when it's glazed. It enhances everything and gives it a really good sealant. So go ahead and glaze each and every donut. And this part is rather important for the jelly donut. When glazing, I wouldn't recommend spreading it around too much. Just go ahead and tap the glaze on it. That way you can go ahead and seal that powder and it doesn't get all spread everywhere. And you don't lose the powder, so all that work kind of was for nothing. And if you want to, you can go ahead and let that first layer dry and then glaze it again to make sure that the powder is secure. And there you have it. All of your donuts are glazed and finished and ready to go. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it for you. I really love donuts, and I think these are so cute and would make a wonderful friendship bracelet or friendship charm bracelet. Or if you want to cut one in half and make friendship necklaces, that'd be cute too. Whether you're watching this when it's posted or in the future, I hope you're having a wonderful day and that life is treating you well. And you know, I know life is hard and sometimes it sucks, but I hope this video brought a little bit of joy, and I can't thank you enough for coming along this journey with me. All right, I'll catch you in the next video. Bye, everybody.